When it comes to holiday treats, you don't need any tricks. You just need some superfoods to make healthy holiday swaps. Good morning, everybody. This is Wake Up Well. Well, I know when it comes to holiday eating, desserts are my kryptonite. I love anything sweet. And of course, there's lots of yummy treats out there. There's stuffing, there's sweet potato hashes, there's cornbread. And so how can we make them a little bit better for us? Well, I'm bringing in my guest today. Her name is Saarah Wassel. She is a holistic health practitioner. She has her Instagram called Beauty Mommy, where she shares all sorts of tips on how to live a holistic lifestyle. So let's bring her in. I love your Instagram because I love looking at all your photos. First of all, they're so beautiful, but also I love all the dishes that you post and all the healthy swaps that you post. I just think they're phenomenal and they give me some great ideas. And I will be honest and say that I have made things that you have posted where I'm like, ooh, I want that. So thank you for that. So let's get into some healthy holiday swaps. So when it's holiday time, you think of things like pies and cookies and decadent meals and dinners. Holidays to me it's hard. I can't figure out how to make things healthy. So that's why I brought you in to give us a little rundown of some holiday treats. So we're going to start with desserts. We're going to go backwards, right? Forget the meal stuff. Let's start at my favorite thing, and that is desserts. So when you think of holidays, I think like apple pies. What's something you can do to make an apple pie healthier?
That's kind of the whole purpose of my platform. I like to remake a lot of recipes that have good, healthy gut stuff. And by gut stuff, I mean like prebiotic fibers. You can sprinkle in some probiotics and even some collagen in the mix. So let's say I'm going to make an at-home apple pie. For me, I would make the crust a gluten-free crust. That's going to kind of help alleviate some of the heaviness that you'll feel from the wheat flours and stuff like that. And you can get all kinds of different crusts. There's even ones that are grain-free, which means that there's no like rice and starches and stuff in it, which is really great. So that's kind of a good substitute you can do. And then when you're mixing in that good sweetness in the center with the apple, I feel like the apples are sweet enough. And typically what happens in the recipes is you use sugars to emulsify, to hold together all of this goodness. And that's why some of the recipes you're like, why is there so much sugar? It's because it's actually holding the pieces together. So what I found was that collagen is actually a really good emulsifier for things like that. So I take like, let's say the recipe asks for like 2 cups of sugar, which is so much sugar. I'll take like 1 cup of sugar, and then I'll do maybe like half a cup of collagen, and then I'll add in some stevia or monk fruit to kind of lessen the amount of sugar. And if you want to go all the way, which I like to do sometimes too, is with no sugar, then I'll add in the full 1-to-1. I'll find like a pure organic or Now Foods. They have some monk fruit sweeteners where you can do like 1-to-1 for the sugar. But I'll also still decrease that amount and add in the collagen. And collagen is really good for hair, skin, nails, and repairing the tissues in your body and kind of getting the gut really, really good and wholesome. And one little secret I do for my kids is I add in and I sprinkle in what's called a prebiotic fiber. Kind of helps you in the fiber ways to kind of, move stuff along. But I also love it because it provides food for your good probiotics, all the good yummy bacteria that you want in your entire digestive system. So that's kind of a secret tip that I would do for an apple pie.
Well, when it comes to the collagen, can you taste it? Like if you put that in there, will you taste it in the pie? Does it have any flavor to it?
No, there's no flavor to it. As long as you get the unflavored, like there's a lot of brands that are now doing their mixes, right? They're doing like a vanilla mix. And I personally like to do the vanilla collagen because vanilla makes everything get better in my opinion.
Yeah.
But as long as you get like an unflavored one, you're not going to be able to taste it. And you really want to get a good quality collagen too. When you tend to go on the side of like, the cheaper collagens, then you're going to start tasting there's like a specific like aftertaste, because ultimately collagen is what you're getting from animals, right? And you can taste it if it's not really good quality. So I always stick to the ones that are just a little bit more, you're going to put a little bit more money into it, but it's so worth it because then you're not going to taste it. And then if you're vegan or vegetarian, collagen wouldn't be for you because collagen is based on like basically bones and stuff from animals. There is what's called a collagen builder. And collagen builder, they're essentially plant nutrients and plant sterols that you put in the mix that help your body produce collagen. So you can also do that, that as well. And those ones, again, they have unflavored ones and flavored ones. And you also want to get the good quality ones so that you don't get the gamey kind of taste in your mouth.
Are there other desserts that you could use that for as an emulsifier that you mentioned?
Yeah, so typically, like if you're using, again, if you're doing like a cornbread or a pumpkin bread, pumpkin pie, like anything that really needs something to stick together, and even chocolate chip cookies, you can put it in cookies, and which is what I do. I put it in my cookies and baking. I make this really good banana bread, which is actually on my feed. You can see it. But yeah, I put it in any type of like, think of anything like bread or brownies or cookies or the crust of a pie, like that, anything that needs to be thickened, even a cheesecake, you could put into the mix to make it a little bit thicker.
We're going backwards. So we started with dessert. So now let's go to the entree. So obviously, you know, if it's Thanksgiving, you're making turkeys or hams. If it's the Christmas or whatever those things are, is there anything you can do with meat to make it what would we even call it? Less bad for you. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. I love that. It kind of depends on what you're making. So if I'm making something that requires some sort of ground beef, I sneak collagen in that too, because you can't really tell. And again, it holds the meat patty together or something like that. So like if I'm making burgers at home, I sprinkle in collagen and it holds it together instead of using like all these oils and stuff like that. With meats, you can do some healthy swaps too for cooking, like the oils that you're cooking in. I always recommend maybe ghee instead of butter. Ghee has a lot of those yummy prebiotic goodies that you need in your gut as well. So I'll always substitute ghee in for butter, and you just need to add a little bit of salt to that. Or I'll use like an avocado oil instead of coconut oil, or instead of olive oil. The avocado oil, you can cook at really high temperatures, and ultimately it's a really good omega for your body. So I absolutely love that. If you're doing, let's say you're doing mashed potato, you could put some prebiotic fiber in that as well, or a little bit of ghee so you can get that prebiotic goodness. But like if you're looking at a whole turkey, you can also add different spices on there, and they're typically spices you don't really taste, but they will enhance the food, but again, they're really good for the gut. So for instance, celery seed, that's one that I put that in a lot of stuff. I even sprinkle it on like roasted potatoes or mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes can get a little tricky because celery seed looks like little black dots. So some people might get a little weary that there's a lot of black dots in your food. So I kind of stick to the stuff like roasted potatoes where it's already kind of browned on the outside. And you can also put that on a turkey, and you sprinkle it on the skin of the turkey and also on the inside, and it basically just kind of adds to all the spices that you're adding in there. But celery seed is one of my favorites. And obviously garlic is amazing. You want to try to use fresh garlic when you can, especially when you're doing the mashed foods, whether it's like a stuffing or a mashed potato. You want to really get the garlic in there because the fresh garlic, again, is really good for cardiovascular health, really good for blood flow, and really, really good for gut health.
Let's move on to the side. So, you know, I think of like sweet potatoes, and if you just sliced up the sweet potatoes, right, and roasted them or something, they'd be healthy, but we tend to stick sugar and marshmallows and things like that. Yes. And, you know, like even things like green beans, people will zhuzh them up and just load them up with butter, and something that started out as healthy becomes unhealthy. So what are some tricks and some superfoods that we can add into our sides?
So typically when I'm looking at something like a green bean dish, and you add in the cream of celery in there, and then you sprinkle it with the crispy onions and some other stuff. What I typically like to do is, if you do want to use that rich, creamy celery, cream of celery, I tend to look for the organics ones, but then I also throw in some bone broth in there. And the bone broth is going to be really good, again, for the collagen effects of that, and also the gut health benefits. I'll add in a little bit of bone broth in there, and then I will swap out any type of butter in there for either ghee or an avocado oil too. I would have a tendency to say try not to do the crispy onions, particularly the store-bought ones, but try to make them yourself. all you have to do is slice the onions yourself and put the avocado oil on really hot temperature, and you'll be able to get some of the crispy onion without all those additions that you have a tendency to get. And then with the sweet potato, there are some marshmallows out there that do have less sugar. There's this one company called Sweet Apricity Caramels. Like, they do have caramels and they also have marshmallow, but they use coconut sugar instead of cane sugar. And using coconut sugar has a less of an impact on your blood sugar levels. So if you really want to get those marshmallows, maybe try to find an alternative with the coconut sugar.
Okay, and then lastly, since we went backwards from dessert to entrees to sides, what about the appetizers?
Appetizers.
Yeah. Things like soup even. A lot of people at the holidays like to make different soups, and then they put out the cheese boards and puff pastries and all that stuff. So tell me about some swaps for the appetizers.
So if you're going to start heading towards the soups for an appetizer, I make sure that all my soup bases are made of bone broth. And the bone broth is, again, it's going to give you that really yummy, good nutrients for your gut and also for your cells to thrive. I always think about, like, when I find stuff that has really loaded in micronutrients, that your cells like do this like little dance and this little shimmy. So I always picture that when I have this soup that I have bone broth in, and my cells are like, yay, I'm shimmying here. But that's kind of what I do for all my soups. If I'm going to do that for an appetizer, I literally substitute any type of water or any type of chicken broth or vegetable broth with that if you can. But again, if you're vegan or vegetarian, you can always mix in these, like I said, the collagen builders and stuff like that, which have no, that are sourced from plant-based things. And you can use that as part of your soup base as well. But again, they're loaded in all these yummy micronutrients that are really good for your cells. When it comes to like charcuterie stuff or even stuff you want to serve to people, what I typically do is I load up a lot of raw vegetables. So I'll cut up, different colored peppers, I'll cut up cucumbers, and I'll make sure that I have a whole array of just so many good vegetables there. I limit the amount of crackers that I put on the spread. And I typically look for brands that are made from maybe an almond flour base that have a lot less oils in them. And again, we stay away from a lot of the wheat-based products because typically you'll find a lot of different additives and preservatives in those crackers that aren't really the greatest. So I'll typically find something that has 3 or 4 ingredients in there and good. And there's even some chips too that will be a better substitute than crackers, whether it's lentil chips or even hippies. Everybody loves hippies. That's out. Seaweed. Sometimes I'll slice some seaweed and put it on there. But there's different things that you can put on that charcuterie board versus what you will typically find on there.
And then it really comes down to what I always say, choices. So, right, when you are making everything, when you are eating everything, it's really your choice what you want to put in your body, and your body will tell you if you've eaten too much, and it'll tell you if it doesn't like what you're putting in it. So you just have to make those choices. So, I'm all for having your cheat days. And if you want to make a holiday a cheat day, that's great. But if you really want to try to keep it healthy, these are some great healthy swaps and healthy add-ins. And so I really appreciate all of your great info. And so if you want to follow Saarah, you can follow her on Instagram at @BeautyMommy.
And I answer all my DMs. So if you want to send me a private message or have a question about particular recipes, I'm always here to help you. But you'll find a lot of the recipe swaps that I do and little subtle additions and subtractions that I'll make to some of the standard recipes that everybody loves, from pastas to sides to main dishes and all of that stuff.
And just a little thing about Saarah, she does this adorable thing that I absolutely love, where she takes like motivational quotes and then she sort of relates them to the food, and it's so fun and fascinating. So definitely she's someone to follow on Instagram. All right. So thank you for being here with me. Thanks for all this info. I'm going to run out and get some collagen and put them in my chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Bring my skin back to its original glory.
Amazing, Laura. Amazing.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being my guest. And thank you, everybody, for checking out Wake Up Well. I'm here every Wednesday on Well World TV. Thanks, guys. Take care.